Hello, this is Mike Bevilacqua, the Vice President of the Merrimack Valley Chamber of Commerce, here with another edition of the Merrimack Valley Chamber Means Business program. We have two great guests today. We have George Peters and Chris Donovan, both with Amplified Insurance Company. I'm sure if you're part of the Merrimack Valley, you've heard these two names before, the number of different companies, groups that they work with, and now they're with Amplified. So I want to welcome them both to the show. George and Chris, why don't you introduce yourselves? Give us a little background about yourselves, and then tell us a little bit about Amplified Insurance is. I know they've been in the Valley for a number of years. Tell us, who they came from, what they are, and then also who you can help also.
Go ahead,
Sure.
Chris. You take it from there.
All right, George, you want me to take it?
Yep.
I'll be glad to. So I'm Chris Donovan, and I head up business development for Amplified Insurance Partners. Previously in the Merrimack Valley, our name was Telemon Insurance. We actually rebranded 3 years ago as Amplified Insurance, but effectively we've been involved in the Valley for about 10 years. I actually come from the area. I grew up in Lawrence and attended Central Catholic and was very active in the community over the years. And it's great to be really back and focused in the Valley itself. Amplified Insurance Partners has been around for 43 years. And we actually have locations across the state. We're about a 70-person company, and we actually do 4 different things. We do employee benefits, we do property and casualty insurance, we do HR consulting and outsourcing, and also personal finance side of the equation as well.
Perfect. And George?
Thanks, Chris. Michael, as you know, and expand a lifelong Merrimack Valley resident, grew up in Lawrence, lived in North Andover for quite a while, and now I'm a resident of Haverhill. A couple of businesses started early on. My first being, I think the Merrimack Valley Chamber, Michael, was one of the first places I joined with my first business back in the mid-1990s. So I've known the chamber for quite a while. I was co-founder for the past 10 years with Al Contarino with Made in America Kettle Pizza, which took us around the globe. And when creating products from the ground up, the importance of having someone handling the back end of things when entrepreneurs or business owners are trying to manage the front end is why we became a client of Amplified, so they could take care of all those very important things that often go unseen in a business. And the decision was made probably close to a year ago when Chris and I talked about opening up an office here in the Merrimack Valley. And as you know, we're in the Pentucket Plaza building in the UMass iHub now, which is, kind of ideal for what the businesses that we want to be able to help here in the Merrimack Valley.
Now, in a second, we're going to be talking about the coronavirus effect on business and how you can help, what the new normal for these businesses is going to be looking like. But I just want to mention that, like as you said, both you and Chris both were clients of Amplified Insurance before you started working there. What are some of the reasons Amplified chose the Merrimack Valley? I know, I think like we were talking about a little bit before the show started, the Amplified Insurance of the Merrimack Valley as a place business was being done, correct?
That's correct. George and I have known each other for quite a few years, and I think our focus has always been trying to provide value for businesses, and we feel a real strong affinity to the Valley itself and in general. And I think what we wanted to do was bring our business acumen, our whole focus on being business owners, where we hired people, fired people, and we all struggle like any business owner. And so, yes, we're bringing forward insurance, but I think it's more important is we're bringing forward our practical approach about being a business owner. And so when we sit down with somebody, we bring a different to, potentially the clients or people we work with. And we just felt that the Valley itself is a place we feel personally strong about, and we wanted to continue to elevate it and grow it. And as you noted, I was a client twice, actually, of Amplified, and they did all my employee benefits, they did my HR, and they did my employee benefits in property and casualty. And as a result, I felt pretty strongly when they approached me about a partnership and working with Amplified, and that was almost 10 years ago. And it was a wise decision, at least on my behalf. And I enjoy what I do on a daily basis. And I think, George, I don't want to speak for you, but I think you feel the same way. I know you do.
One of the things in talking with Chris, him growing up in South Lawrence, myself, South Lawrence, is relationships around the Merrimack Valley, Michael, as you know, are very important. That handshake, that kind of constant running into each other, people around here for a long time. It's important, especially in times where people are struggling, that you have somebody that you know. And where we're from here, we thought that was very important because we could speak to all areas around here of what businesses are going through. And it's always good to have a friendly face or somebody, we're willing to help anybody. If it turns out to be someone down the road that values our services, that's great. But the first thing is that there's some places now, businesses that don't some business questions too, rather than just insurance questions.
Sure.
So, everybody's head spinning right now, and people are trying to hang on until, we weather the storm a little bit. And having somebody a neighborhood is key to that. And we thought that was going to be important with opening an office here in Haverhill.
Sure, and the two of you have a lot of experience with that because you personally are inventors. You personally have run businesses before. You've been through everything. You've been through everything that life and the workforce can throw at you. You've been through that. Obviously, before the coronavirus, the Merrimack Valley was striving at the time, and then obviously the coronavirus hit. There's a number of businesses who aren't working right now. There's a number of businesses that lay off employees. There's a number of businesses that aren't normal right now. And I think what I keep hearing is when we get back to normal, but if we're being honest, there's probably not going to be that normal that we're used to again. How would you tell businesses, how can they adjust now to that new normal? How can they prepare themselves?
Well, I'll start there. We as an organization, Amplified, have over the last 8-9 weeks, and we've probably offered up 10 to 15 webinars focused in on, the current situation, what employers need to know, and what employers need to be able to communicate to their employees, keeping abreast of, both federal guidelines and also statewide guidelines and best practices. So we spend a great deal of time really trying to understand the phases of what businesses really need to be thinking about as we move forward in this whole situation. And so we've been trying to provide as much guidance as possible through our HR offerings and making sure that people clearly understand how they need to communicate with their employees and keep their best interest. And so that's maybe where we've been spending a majority of our time in the last couple of months, and I suspect we will be for a while. George, do you want to add to that?
I think that, looking at it from, let's say, Mike, the street level, is that there's going to be so many changes, legal changes, employment changes, that businesses have not really had to deal with in a long time. There was a kind of set in stone sometime of things. Now, the rule makers don't know what the rules are going to be. Added on top of maybe a restaurant owner trying to figure out if he can fit, 7 tables outside instead of 6. At the end of a 16-hour day, you don't really want to be thinking about, well, do I have are all my insurance up to date and things like that? Did I miss anything? Because there's going to come a point in time, and I think it has already, where the cost of running a business are going to come back full tilt, which means all those back end costs to keep you open. And those rules are going to be changing about what it's going to be and what kind of exposure. Business owners, small business owners don't need any more exposure to bad things happening to them now. And one thing of not, or having someone that can look at all those back things so you can do the front end things of your business, I think is going to be key. If as we all are, we for when each phase gets approved and how can we take advantage of it the best. People think about, how am I going to sell things? We're the group that's going to help you take care of the back end things so you can sell whatever the service or product. Great coffee, my own fillings, great ice cream. They need to be able to stay in business with making sure those policies are up to date and current. And other places that want to do business with you, and I know from our end, it was before we could sell on someone's platform, we had to make sure that everything was up to date, amplified, took care of all that, making sure certificates of insurance were issued to our resellers. That was very important that they did all of that for us, and they concentrated on, and we concentrated on, at the time, selling Kettle Pizza and working on that end of it. I never had to worry about it. I think if people are sitting down now, that's going to creep up on someone because everybody's focused on when can I get back selling and see my customers. We'd be the people saying, okay, you got everything covered so that you're not going to get surprised by anything where somebody says, oh, you didn't have your paperwork in order and you can't open yet. That'll be the key.
Yep, no, definitely. Now, George and Chris, I want to ask you both, what are the types of businesses that Amplified works with? Is it any type of business that you work with? And then once a new client comes on with Amplified, what are those first steps? And then how do you continue working with them after that?
Good question, Mike. So we're industry agnostic in terms of who we work with, but we're focused in on small to medium-sized businesses. So it could be a founder, 1 or 2 people, all the way up to let's say a group that has 1,000 employees. But the majority of our clients sit between 5 employees to 1,000, and I'd say below 500 is probably more realistic than most of our clients. So we're categorized as the SMB market, small to medium-sized business, personal business owners. That's our focus. That's what we've done for years, and that's our strong point. As far as the experience of working with a client, so because we're so broad in terms of our offerings, we have the 4 different areas. It doesn't matter where somebody starts working with us. It's really where the need is. In the case of Kettle Pizza, when I worked with George, initially, George was having some issues in and around the HR side. And so we offered up HR. That mushroomed into, experience of working with him on his business insurance and then employee benefits. And so it's all about where the need is for the particular client. We don't need to do everything. It's all about helping the person where they are at that point in time and starting to build a relationship.
Michael, many of the members of the chamber fit right in the sweet spot where we are with Amplified. 5 employees, 20 employees, probably up to the 500 employees. You probably have quite a portfolio of companies that fit right in that
Sure.
right in that range, and you hear it as much as we do about what's going to be coming out on the other end and what to be ready for. And I think that that I think is where Amplified could help out the most. I just want people to know that it's important to have that maybe just have a review of things. Maybe find your policies. Maybe just if you got some of that, because paperwork and having to do more paperwork when you want to open and get your restaurant open or anything like that open is not something that you want to be doing. You want to be making sure your employees are safe. You want to make sure that they have the right equipment when they come back in, so they feel safe coming back to work. So there's going to be 50 more things a business owner has to think about now that they never thought about before.
Sure.
And certainly the back end things, that'll give them the energy to go forward, because there's going to be the challenges, as we all know, are, nobody likes uncertainty. And right now, it's still kind of uncertain of who's open, who's closed, what's going to happen at schools, daycare, things like that. Everything that affects business owners, certainly, your routine where, you had children and maybe you were in daycare, well, then that you could go and do your business or pick up at a certain time, and that just got turned on its head. So I think we would be a good, another leg to help maybe stabilize an existing business. And I certainly think, I was a firm believer that there's going to be opportunities that people will be starting other businesses because of what's happened. I believe this accelerated everything by a decade in the last 3 months. And, we went warp speed of maybe how we're going to be doing business in the future like this, on more video conferencing, more learning online. And that's going to take a while for people to settle into, to see what works best for them and things like that.
Oh, definitely. There's not one business I could say that hasn't had to make a change since this all started, and won't continue those changes once this all gets back to the new normal. And also, you mentioned that trickle-down effect, and you're right. Without childcare, without schools opening, then people can't go to work. So, they'll have to be working from home still. So even though businesses can open, doesn't necessarily mean that businesses will open right off the bat. So that is interesting for sure. As we close out the interview, I want to ask you both, if you're a business at home, why Amplified Insurance, and then also, how can people get a hold of you if they need to reach you? What's your website? What's your best numbers to contact you at? How do they learn about your webinars also?
George, you want to take it, or I'll take it, either one.
You take that, Chris. Go ahead. You
Okay,
have that.
Mike, the one thing I didn't touch upon, and I hope you don't mind, I wanted to just mention this. What has been incredibly important to us is, over the last 5 years, we went on a journey to really, and it's so important to us that the third person in charge under the CEO and the president is a chief cultural officer. And we've really built out the values and attitudes and behaviors, and it characterizes the whole organization. And we built a strategy all around our culture, and really spent a great deal of time defining and educating our employees. So culture is first and foremost the most important thing to us. And if we have happy employees, then we're certainly going to have happy clients, because they're going to want to do the best they can for the client. So, like I say, it's a major focus of ours. And as a result, we spend a great deal of time investing in technology so that all of our employees can work both at home and in the office using the same exact technology, so they don't miss a beat.
Oh, that's great. No, that's the way it's, it seems like it's going to be for at least the time being, until we're back to that new normal and all business can reopen, all schools can reopen. So that is great how you have that culture in place for your employees to feel safe and to feel like they're part of the team, to know they're part of the team, I should say.
It's going to be the difference, Mike, as you know, of you always want to retain, great staff, and now it's going to be, I don't want to say more of a challenge, but people, we're workers around here, Mike. We're workers. People like the certainty of their jobs. We get things done. And that will be a very big thing about make sure the employees are safe. And then when the business owner knows his employees safe, then where Amplify comes in, we can help him make sure his business is safe.
No, definitely. How do people get a hold of you? How do people learn more about your website, about your webinars coming up? How can they find information out?
Well, our website is amplifiedinsurance.com, or you can even access either George or myself, either one of us. As you know, we have an office in the iHub, UMass Lowell, and we are active right now. We can't see anybody in the building, but we hopefully will be shortly.
Yes.
Next month or so.
They can, our emails, Michael, are on the Amplified website. If anybody wants to email, our contact information is right on the Amplified website. The office number here in Haverhill, or the other office that Amplified has in south of Boston. So,
Westwood.
yeah, Westwood.
We'll put your website in the description section so people can click on that right there to be led right to your website. Anything that we left out that you want to touch upon? Anything that's important to you to say before we close out the interview?
Well, I have to, just a quick story, Mike. We've tried, it's January.
I was scheduled to come, I remember.
Yeah, the first one in January had to be rescheduled because John Snyder, the president of Amplified's wife, had a running accident and was laid up. And then in February, we had a snowstorm when and then we were just getting ready to announce in March so then a pandemic hit. So I said to John and Chris and some of the other team here, I said, we're going to have one of the longest scheduled open houses here at the iHub there is. So we want to make sure that everybody can come. We wouldn't want to have it and then have a virtual open house, but we'd like to, it's going to be a hell of a party when we do all everything in one spot.
It'll be worth the wait for sure. And I'm looking forward to going. I was actually going to go with Brian from our office and obviously Joe from our office. So we were all ready to go. Yeah. And then, like you said, I remember in March was the last scheduled one and the coronavirus hit and everything had to close. So
Right.
It'll be worth the wait, though.
Yeah, we hope it will be. Thank you, Mike, for everything. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
We appreciate both. Like I said, you guys have been in the helping out businesses, people, everyone in the Merrimack Valley for years now, for your whole lives pretty much. So we appreciate that. We the open house also, whatever that might be. But these guys are here to help. The company's here to help, and if you need anything, contact Amplify Insurance for your business. But I want to thank George. I want to thank Chris both for joining us today. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your schedules to view the show as well. And we look forward to seeing you on another edition of the Merrimack Valley Chamber Means Business Program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.